let's start with two enormous storylines from Week 7 in the NFL that we just saw yesterday on Sunday. The Buffalo Bills can no longer be trusted, and the Baltimore Ravens have now entered into the Zach Gelb Show circle of trust. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. That is an embarrassing performance yesterday by Buffalo. And you go into New England, and I don't want to hear New England, right, with their history, and it's Gillette Stadium, and it's a divisional game. That's a bunch of bull crap. That's what it is, if we're just being honest. The Patriots are not a good team. They are a bad football team this year, and the Buffalo Bills continuously are the most frustrating and inconsistent team in the NFL this season. And when you watch the Buffalo Bills, and it really, the first game of the season set the tone for them. When you go up against the Jets, Aaron Rodgers has the Achilles injury 4 plays into the season, and you couldn't win that game. So a game like that sets the tone, but you think, all right, lose one game, first game of the season, that stuff happens. Then you have 2 performances up against the Raiders and the Commanders. Whoop-de-damn-do. You get the victories and you blow them out. But Buffalo teased everyone. Buffalo teased everyone in that game a few weeks ago, right in the start of October, where they're going up against the Miami Dolphins, where the Dolphins come in soaring, the Dolphins come in, they're the talk of the league, and Buffalo absolutely dominated them for 60 minutes, where Stephon Diggs had 3 touchdowns, Josh Allen's looking like an MVP, and that defense was dominant up against the high-octane explosive offense of the Miami Dolphins, where they won the game 48-20. And ever since then, it looks like that was the apex for the Buffalo Bills season. Because after that, you tell me the nonsense, and it's always excuses with Buffalo. Oh, they were jet lag in London going up against the Jaguars. Stop it. What was the excuse against the Giants when the offense did nothing and the Giants defense isn't good, and the Giants almost won that game in Buffalo with Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback? Oh, Brian Daboll, though, knows the Buffalo Bills, so you knew that was going to be a close game. It just keeps on, even when they win, we make excuses for this team. And yesterday, you're up against the Pats. You don't even show up early. You make Mac Jones look like a stud, and we know that's not the case. And this Patriots team, which was lifeless, which was dead, which was a football team that before the game, and I think this was coming from Robert Kraft, they have to call up Ian Rappaport and say, oh, yeah, by the way, Bill Belichick got a long-term extension before the season started. So people would stop wondering, is this going to be the final year for Bill Belichick at one Patriot place? And you let that Patriot team that has no offensive line, has no legitimate weapons in the pass game, their defense, they're without their 2 best defensive players in Christian Gonzalez and Matthew Judon. You allow that football team to beat you? And they were up by 12. The Pats were up by 12. And at least Buffalo came back, but they teased you once again because once they took the lead, they allowed a big play to Ramondre Stevenson, and then the Patriots move it right down the field. They originally had Pop Douglas in the end zone, and it was a bad play design where the receiver was too small. They go right back to the well the next play, and Mike Gesicki and Mac Jones. Think about that image. If you're a Bills fan, this is the image of your season. Mac Jones and Mike Gesicki dancing on your grave in the end zone. That's pathetic. Mac Jones and Mike Gesicki should be celebrating nothing, absolutely nothing this year. Because that football team that I watch each and every week in the Patriots is a bunch of garbage this year. And you allow those 2 guys, Mike Gesicki and Mac Jones, who've looked horrible against every other team in the NFL, have a party at your expense. Buffalo has to do some serious soul searching. There was a reason going into this season why everyone was out on the Buffalo Bills. And shame on me for thinking, oh, maybe all that negativity, maybe all that criticism could actually be positive for Buffalo. Because last year, everyone was in on the Buffalo Bills. You couldn't find someone that didn't pick the Bills a year ago before the season started to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And they got embarrassed. They got emasculated. They got destroyed up against the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs. And this offseason, it was a mess. This offseason, there was a bunch of questions. And I thought to myself in a stupid fashion, maybe all that negativity, maybe all that pressure being against Buffalo and everyone going elsewhere will wake up the Bills. And when the Bills are backed into a corner, maybe they'll show up. But this team just doesn't have enough pop. This team doesn't have enough sizzle. And I understand losing Matt Milano's big. Losing Tre'Davious White is big. But I've seen teams get decimated with injuries and still find a way to hoist a Lombardi trophy. The Patriots won a Super Bowl without Rob Gronkowski. The Eagles lost their quarterback, their star offensive lineman, their star linebacker, a special teams ace, and still won a Super Bowl. So don't make it out to be, even though they're big losses, that this team should look this pathetic up against the Patriots because you don't have Tre'Davious White and you don't have Matt Milano. And Buffalo, they need a spark. Buffalo needs something quickly. And from now until next week, when the trade deadline is quickly approaching, as we're already about to enter week 8 of the NFL season after it wraps up tonight, Buffalo needs to do something. And Buffalo needs to do something on the offensive side of the ball. I don't care what the reports say. I don't care what the speculation says. If Buffalo sits on their hands and if Brandon Beane doesn't do anything from now until the trade deadline, I don't even know if the Bills will make the playoffs. That's the direction we're trending with. I don't even know if the Bills will make the playoffs. But this team right now, they are dull, they are pedestrian, they are pathetic, and they are inconsistent. And that Miami game, it was like champagne, pop the champagne, praise Buffalo, and this team really exhaled. We're in their last 3 games. They lost to Jacksonville, they lost to the Patriots, and they were lucky to beat a bad football team in the Giants. Brandon Beane, you need to be aggressive. Brandon Beane, you need to save this season, and you better pick up the phone and get a deal done with either the Giants or with either the Tennessee Titans. You need to. You need to go get Derrick Henry. You need to go get Saquon Barkley, because right now you're asking Josh Allen to be Superman. You're asking Josh Allen to do everything. And it's really a problem for the Bills, because if you ask Josh Allen to do everything, inevitably a mistake will happen. Inevitably something will go wrong. And I know they've tried the running back position. They've tried to run the football with James Cook. He's been too inconsistent. Last year you had an opportunity, a golden opportunity. Remember, Brandon Beane has Carolina Panthers connections. You could have traded for Run CMC Christian McCaffrey. Instead, the 49ers did that, and it's looking great for them. You can't make the same mistake twice here. You need to give up your draft capital to salvage this Super Bowl window of the Buffalo Bills. Because I thought going into the season, the Bills would never be able to do anything to make me get all back in on them in the regular season, because ultimately it would come down to the postseason and can they get that monkey off their back. But most of us thought, even questioning Buffalo, they would still make the playoffs. With what I've seen through the first 7 weeks, and this team being a 4-3 team, the playoffs aren't a lock. The playoffs aren't a given. And I'm really concerned about the Buffalo Bills. Now the regular season means something. I thought this regular season was going to be meaningless for the Buffalo Bills. But they got to go make a move, and they got to go impress the next few weeks, because you got the Buccaneers on the horizon. You got the Bengals on the horizon. You should be able to take care of business against the Broncos. You play the Jets, who already beat you earlier in the year. Then you got the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Chargers, and the Patriots and the Dolphins. And then we're in January and the season's over. That's a tough schedule. The Bills need help. The Bills need help in a big way. And it could come from Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley. But this team is no longer a team, even in a year where the NFL is wide open. Whenever you latch on to a team in the AFC they stumble. But even in a year where this is wide open, I can't sit here and tell you anything's going to be different with the Buffalo Bills. Why should I expect so? They've had good teams the last few years. They've had, at times, elite teams. What I'm seeing this year, it's a poor offensive line. It's an inconsistent run game. Stephon Diggs is too emotional. And you have a quarterback in Josh Allen that you're saying, here you go, we paid you, do everything. In a team sport, when you rely on one player to do everything, it doesn't work. And what makes yesterday so bad for Buffalo is the opponent you were going up against. This isn't the Patriots of 20 years. This is the Patriots in a miserable spot with no hope, no optimism. And they looked competent yesterday. Mac Jones had 130-something passer rating. He threw for 270-something yards. And he moved the ball at ease, up and down the field against the Buffalo Bills, who had another blunder. Now, on the other side, the Baltimore Ravens, they were a team heading into this season. I didn't think they'd make the playoffs. I did not believe in the Baltimore Ravens. And it was because they've been a group that have just been derailed by injuries the last 2 years. What Lamar Jackson did yesterday up against the talk of the league and the Detroit Lions is the most impressive thing that I saw in Week 7 of the NFL season. Because Lamar Jackson and the Ravens sent a message yesterday that they're a force to be reckoned with as long as their quarterback is healthy. That throw that Lamar Jackson made is a video game type of play where he was running around, extending the play, stops on a dime right by the right sideline, and fires the ball to Nelson Aguilar for a touchdown. That was awesome. That was an MVP type of performance yesterday from Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. 21-27, 357 yards through the air, 3 passing touchdowns, and oh yeah, by the way, 9 carries for 36 yards and a rushing score. They didn't only beat Detroit, they dominated Detroit. That game was over at halftime when it was 28-0. And everyone in the AFC North, which is the toughest division in football so far, everyone's been sleeping on the Baltimore Ravens. And here they are at 5-2. We know Harbaugh's a good coach. You know they got a good defense. And you know Lamar Jackson is one of the more electrifying and valuable players in the NFL. And Baltimore sent a statement yesterday to the NFL. Everyone's going to talk about Detroit. No one's going to talk about us. And we are a force to be reckoned with this year. And I'll go as far to say this. Through 7 weeks, Kansas City's the best team. Kansas City's the best team, just looking at the AFC, and I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. But if you want to ask me who is the second best team in the AFC through 7 weeks, how can't you go Baltimore? I have to go Baltimore. Dolphins, they haven't beat anyone. You look at the Bills, clearly if you listen to the last 10 minutes, they can't be trusted. The Bengals, let's see what they do coming off this bye week, 3-3, with 2 tough opponents against the 49ers, and I thought was going to be a tough game up against the Buffalo Bills. The Chargers, forget about it, they suck, and Brandon Staley needs to be fired. Jacksonville, I could believe in Jacksonville, but I think Baltimore is more ready to win now. And it's about one individual. Because that guy, Lamar Jackson, as long as he could stay healthy, he makes plays. He makes explosive plays, and he makes your jaw drop about 6 or 7 times throughout the game. Give me a team that you could trust. Give me a team that you're out on after 7 weeks of the NFL season. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I could trust the Baltimore Ravens. I could no longer trust the Buffalo Bills.